I am Lika Guhathakurta, and I guess for the past 22 years, I have worked as a scientist bureaucrat at NASA headquarters, which involved really creating new missions, creating new areas of science, sometimes focusing the science area for the community so the community can actually write proposals, get funding for it, and then carry out the science. I have done a lot of education and outreach, both for general public and for graduate school students, to really usher them into the field of heliophysics. And heliophysics in itself is sort of a new discipline which has combined many of the older disciplines like solar physics, magnetospheric physics, ionospheric physics, and really stitch them together to show the connection of the sun to our planet and every other planet and the interplanetary medium in general. I think sort of asking questions and trying to find out more about our natural environment from the very beginning, even as a little kid, I remember asking deep philosophical questions that children do. So do grown-ups, but that sense of wanting to know more kind of pushed me in the direction where I became a scientist. Always encouraging. I have never had anybody stop me or say, no, you can't do this because you are a girl. Nothing of the sort. And even though, in my family, I'm the first and only scientist, but we were allowed to pursue our goals, and our parents essentially, made it possible for us to go through the process of higher education by nurturing our curiosity, I would say. By the time I was in high school, I think I already knew the direction I was going. So back in the days in India, and it's still true in many parts of India, between the age of sort of 14 to 17, you spend the last 3 years of your school, sort of elementary school, in high school. And in that age group, by then, you already had to make a determination of which track of field you're going to choose. So the choices were, basic science or arts and humanities or business and commerce. These were the three broad categories. So it's very early on, we had to choose what we were going to do in future. And that's when I actually knew that I was going to pursue science. Now, I'll tell you a story here, which is kind of interesting. My father worked for a bank, and so he was in a transferable job. So in India, we hopped from city to city, quite separate in culture and the language, the regional language they spoke and all that. So during this transition phase of me going to high school, we moved from the big city of Mumbai to the big city of Delhi. And because the last 3 years of high school, the coursework is all kind of stitched together for 3 whole years. If you missed the very first year, you would be entering into something where you have missed one whole year. And that's a very difficult gap. And that's kind of what I faced. If I wanted to do science, I'd have to start from ninth grade to 11th grade, right? And in Mumbai, I had already finished ninth grade. And so technically, I should have been in 10th grade, right? And I actually chose to really swallow that and said, nope, I want to do science and I will do this. In today's world, I think being a generalist is much more valuable than being a specialist. And so, you know, if you want to specialize and want to get your PhD, you by all means should do it. But that's if you're going to pursue research career or if you're going to pursue faculty position. Outside of that, I would say there are just many different kinds of jobs available today. So being a generalist, really having a good communication skill, I would say that math is absolutely vital. A good fundamental knowledge of mathematics, learning computer science, learning some of the modern tools of artificial intelligence and machine learning, like Python, like getting familiar with data science. And there are all kinds of different coursework possible. These become very important. That's a very interesting question. I don't know that I know the answer to that. Where motivation is an internal thing. Is it all chemicals in our brain and body that kind of provides that motivation? What makes me get up in the morning and makes me want to do what I do versus someone else does not? I don't think I have a good answer to that. But for me, I have, I'm so much older today, and I still have that passion of pursuing what I'm pursuing, doing something new, connecting different ideas and thoughts and fields that were not connected before. Yes, like every life, it has its ups and downs. There was a point in my life when I was finishing my PhD and my son was born, I remember. And there was this phase where I thought I just did not want to finish my PhD. It was difficult. And what kept me going through that phase was I just felt I couldn't disappoint my parents. They would be brokenhearted, even more than me. And I struggled through and I finished my PhD. I have often been the only woman in many, many meetings. Perhaps I have been relatively more fortunate in having worked with a group of people where I was not unnecessarily made to feel that I'm a woman or I'm not competent or any of that. On the other hand, I would say that I myself did not allow that. This wasn't even a thought in my head. Just believe in yourself. Don't give up, because lots of people will say lots of different things. But if there is something that you are passionate about, then strike for it and give it your all. Don't let anything or anyone else stop you. Because the power to achieve, to internalize your energy and motivate yourself, that's inside you, not external to you. Communication can be difficult, and this is not communication because I'm a woman. I mean, whenever you're dialoguing with someone, getting your points across, that is one of the more difficult challenges we have. What's inside our head and how we communicate can be interpreted in so many ways. That's a function of culture. That's a function of sex. That's a function of country. That's a function of, the field that you practice. And so paying attention to that, I think, is really important, really, really important. And it's a challenge because sometimes you feel misunderstood when you didn't mean it. I have to say that I am incredibly privileged to have worked with so many amazing people at NASA and outside of NASA to really create, this program called Living with a Star and make it a visible program, which has now given rise to this new field of heliophysics, because it is stitching together some of our old science disciplines and asking new questions. And we have new missions, and we are going to new places, new vantage points to observe the sun or to look at our own planet and see how the sun is influencing that. And creating new textbooks for this new field, training new early career scientists in this interdisciplinary field of heliophysics, creating outreach material like, full dome shows or IMAX to show the power of the sun, the glory of the sun, and its connectedness, and its both sort of beauty, but harmful effect on our planet. Really sharing, in a way, all the things that we at NASA are privileged to see every day that ordinary people don't get a chance to. And that's sort of sharing it through this public media. That is the last mission that I worked on in the program. It's called Parker Solar Probe. Originally, it was just Solar Probe, and then we named it after Eugene Parker, this scientist, solar physicist, who actually discovered that the sun is continuously losing some material and blowing it out in the form of a wind called solar wind. Unlike the wind at Earth, this solar wind is actually particles, electrons and protons coming out and traveling at tremendous speed. So we needed to understand the mechanism for this continuous expulsion of material from the sun. And we decided to fly this mission very, very close to the sun to measure the data right then and there, as opposed to measuring them from Earth. And that's the Parker Solar Probe mission. It is getting very close to the sun. So right now, the spacecraft is about 13 solar radii from the sun. So one solar radius is just that. If you look at the sun, one solar radius is half of the diameter, and it's 13 times that distance is where. the Parker Solar Probe is today.